We're talking about one of my favorite things today. We're talking about ancestral reverence. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. First of all, before we get into any of the information in today's video, I have to acknowledge, I have to say, my YouTube channel just hit over 1,000 subscribers the other day. And I really honestly am I'm so humbled and just so happy that over 1,000 of you guys care enough about the content that I release and the topics that I discuss to subscribe to my channel and everything. Thank you guys so much. It means so much. It really motivates me and inspires me to keep creating content for you guys. Thank you to everyone who is here. Thank you to everyone who is subscribed to my channel. I love you guys and I'm excited for us to continue moving forward together. I'm excited to see what unfolds before us. So, it's really gloomy outside today here in Louisiana. It's gloomy, it's rainy, it's cold. There's a huge cold front kind of sweeping across the south right now. So this is just gonna be a cozy chit chat video where we get into ancestral reverence and how it benefits you and how it benefits your spiritual practice. This is more so gonna be just an introductory kind of video, but definitely let me know if you guys would be interested in a more in-depth video that I can make in the future. So let's get into today's topic of discussion. We're going to be talking about ancestral reverence, what it is, common mistakes and misconceptions around ancestral reverence, ancestral veneration and elevation, how it can help benefit your spiritual practice, your self-healing, all of those different things we're gonna kind of briefly touch on. This is a topic of discussion that everyone should have some sort of basic knowledge and understanding of. So definitely share this video with people who are curious about ancestral veneration, ancestral reverence. They want to start incorporating ancestral work more into their spiritual healing or into their spiritual practice. This is the video that is gonna kind of help you understand what that is and what not to do, and you know, what you can just generally overall expect from the practice of ancestral elevation. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so the first thing that we are going to tackle obviously is answering the question of what is ancestral reverence? What is ancestral veneration? What is that? A lot of people hear that word and, you know, they maybe kind of have an understanding of what it is. It's familiar to their ears, but they don't really know what it means or what all it entails. So the first thing that I want to go ahead and clear up for all of you guys out there is that ancestral reverence, ancestral veneration is not the same as the worship of any other deity or spirit. Ancestral reverence is actually the act of devotion, duty, and respect to your ancestral spirits. Now, for those of you who may be unsure of what exactly an ancestor is someone who is connected to you by blood, a deceased family member that has passed on. It doesn't matter if they were older than you when they passed on, if they were younger than you, if they are connected to you by blood and they are no longer living, they are in the spiritual realm, they are an ancestor. That is something to also clear up and clarify, because there is sort of a misconception sometimes around what constitutes an ancestor. Ancestral work is specifically for people that you are connected to by blood. You are blood related. So what does ancestral reverence and ancestral veneration look like? You are someone who is assuming a role of, again, duty, honor, respect, and taking care of these ancestors that have passed on in their afterlife. So A lot of people will have an ancestral altar in their home, either in a nice hallway or in the kitchen, but you have an ancestral altar that is devoted specifically, again, to blood relatives that are no longer living. And typically you would have something like a white candle, a few glasses of water. There's a bit of a debate in terms of how many glasses of water one should have on their ancestral altar. I am in the belief that you should consult with your spirits and ask them how many glasses of water they would most benefit from. That's the whole point is, you know, the ancestral practice is supposed to be a practice between you and your spirits, communing with your spirits. So try to keep other opinions out of it and really make it about you and your spirits, you and your ancestors. Ask them what they want on their altar. Some people like to put Bibles on their altar. Others like to put cigarettes, cigars, liquor, food, sweets, memorabilia such as photos or a special item that belonged to a specific deceased relative. You don't have to have an ancestral altar for every individual deceased relative that has passed on in your family. You just need one, and they all share that one altar. They all are designated to that one space. It is their space where they can kind of come down and commune with you and receive their offerings, and you can get guidance from them there. So that is sort of the standard traditional practice of getting your ancestral work started, is to start with the altar. Everything kind of centers around the altar when you're starting your ancestral practice. So in terms of honoring your spirits, again, this is something that would be specific to the culture that your family is in. This is something that is specific to, you know, if you're trying to connect with a specific relative, a specific deceased relative that has passed on, and you want to honor that specific person, you know, try to think about what that person liked. And if you don't know, maybe ask other family members that are still living. And that is how you would approach that spirit and honor that specific spirit. A lot of people don't know all of their relatives, and that's okay. You don't have to know every deceased relative's name. You don't have to have a picture of every relative that you've ever had in your bloodline. You don't have to have a special item that belonged to every deceased relative. You don't need those things. Really, what's most important is the white candle and the water. And you want to make sure that you're keeping up with your offerings. You want to make sure that the water stays fresh on the altar. Some people like to change their altar water every day. Others do it once a week. Coffee, food, again, sweets, cigarettes, liquor, whatever you feel like your spirits are asking for, really use this time to dive into that and ask them what it is that they are wanting. In terms of food, because I do get this question a lot, you don't want to keep bad food on the altar. So me personally, if I am giving a food offering to my ancestors on the altar, I'll usually let it sit on the altar for a day. So if I put food on the altar Monday evening, I keep it there all day Tuesday, and then I take it off of the altar by Tuesday evening. So that's personally how I like to do it. The same way that we living humans wouldn't find appeal in bad food, your spirits don't want bad food either. So don't put bad food on the altar. Try to keep an eye on the food when it is on the altar. If it starts to smell or if it doesn't look appealing, you know, go ahead and dispose of it. Same thing with the water. Like I said, make sure that you're keeping the water clean. Spirits rely on and need water just as much as we living people do. So they use it to clean themselves, they use it to stay hydrated, and also water is a conduit through which spirits communicate very strongly. So that's why you want to make sure that the water is clean. Just across the board, keep your ancestral altar clean. Keep it neat. It's a sign of respect to them. So why is ancestral reverence and ancestral veneration important? This is a very important topic because I see a lot of people who, y'all, it's so crazy, it's so bad, but there are a lot of people who are involving themselves in the spiritual arts, especially people that are, you know, performing certain, you know, they're doing spell work, they're performing magic, things like that. There are a lot of people in the spiritual community that completely disregard their ancestors, and it's like a non-factor to them. They don't even, it doesn't even cross their mind to bring their ancestors into their practice and make their ancestors a part of their healing. Y'all, I can't say this enough. There is no other spirit in existence in the history of ever, that will get you the healing that you need and help you to be the person you are meant to become other than your ancestors. I am telling you this now. Anybody that tells you differently is deeply confused. You heard it from me. I stand by what I said. It's not necessarily coming from a place of judgment, but it makes me sad to see how so many people would rather go to, you know, they would rather work with Haitian voodoo spirits. They would rather work with Orisha. They would rather work with, you know, Ma'at, Horus, Hecate. Like, they would rather work with all of these other spirits, and there's never a seat at the table for their ancestors. And I don't recommend that, you guys. I really don't, because one thing that I know for certain is that the more you ignore your ancestors and exclude them from your spiritual practice, whether you are doing magic or not, the more that you exclude your ancestors, the more you get cycled back around to your ancestors. So we'll get more into that in a second as well. So why is ancestral reverence important to spiritual healing and growth? Because it is a direct and reciprocal energetic exchange between your bloodline. They help you and heal you. You help them and heal them. So that's what you want. You want it to be an exchange. You want it to be reciprocal. You don't want to just be devoting to a spirit and feeding a spirit. And, you know, they're kind of looking at you like, you know, like, oh, that's cute. Your ancestors are never going to do that to you. And that is because they are your blood. These are people that were once human. So they understand what it's like to be frustrated with your love life. They understand what it's like to be frustrated with your job and to be unsatisfied with your job or how much you're getting paid. They understand what it's like to have had a bad day because they themselves have experienced the human existence. They were once human themselves, and so they have empathy for you. They understand more than any of the other spirits that I mentioned would understand. And that's literally your blood. That's your blood. And so more than any other spirit, they're going to be more inclined to help you. They're going to be more inclined to see you succeed and elevate you and see you healed than other spirits would. That's just the truth. So reason number 2 of why ancestral reverence is important to your healing and spiritual growth is because ancestral reverence, ancestral work, it gives you a deeper self-awareness, which is in of itself beneficial in so many ways, so many deeper layers in so many deeper ways. Not to mention that having that deeper self-awareness will directly help you if you are someone who is also doing rituals and spell work. When you have a deeper understanding of yourself, you have a deeper understanding of your energy, the energy around you, and how to manipulate those energies. And I don't say manipulate in a bad way, but you have a better understanding of how to navigate and manipulate those energies in order to move in the most optimal way throughout the world, which is always nice. Like, wouldn't it be nice to not have to stumble and fumble so much, to not struggle, to not have to struggle as much Ancestral work gives you deeper self-awareness, and when you know yourself, you stumble less. Reason number 3 for ancestral veneration and ancestral healing in your spiritual growth is because, you guys, the spiritual path is supposed to be all about breaking down old, harmful foundations that are no longer useful, and we all have them. We all have old conditionings, old thought patterns, old narratives and beliefs built into the foundation of ourselves that are no longer sustainable for us. The entire point of the spiritual practice is to break all of that down, get rid of it, and rebuild something better, something sustainable, something that is more in alignment with who we authentically are. And guys, you cannot achieve this without your ancestors behind you. You cannot achieve it without a relationship to your ancestors, because again, everything circles back to the blood. Everything circles back to your ancestry, where you come from, the lineage that runs through your veins. Everything cycles back to the ancestors. It's like, if you are trying to start a spiritual journey, begin a spiritual walk, a spiritual path, and you are not incorporating your ancestors in that work, you're not including them in your healing, you're not talking to them, you're not, acknowledging them, you don't engage with them at all, it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to achieve the growth that you want for yourself. It's going to be very hard to progress and grow in any area of your life, because the blood carries it all. It carries the trauma with money. It carries the trauma in terms of romance and matters of love. It carries the trauma of work and career and having that dream job, having that dream life. Everything is held within ancestral wisdom. The healing is there as well. The blood holds the trauma, but the blood also holds the solution, the healing, and the elevation. We're going to talk about common misconceptions and mistakes that people are making. And this is my humble opinion of what I see when I, am on social media and different things like that. So common mistakes in today's spiritual trends concerning ancestral work. Number 1, ancestors being ignored, seen as unimportant to practice. Again, this could not be further from the truth. So again, to reiterate to you guys, as long as you continue to ignore your ancestors and the ancestral work that needs to be done, you will always be led back to them. It doesn't matter what route you try to take. It doesn't matter how you try to go around them. You will always be led back to your ancestors, because the ancestors are the first line of defense. So how can I put this? A lot of people will try to bypass their ancestry, bypass their ancestral spirits, and they'll try to work with spirits like Hecate. They'll try to work with spirits like Osiris or Isis or the Orisha or the Loa and different things like that. But if this is me, the ancestors are in front of me. So no spirit is going to penetrate that unless my ancestors say that it's okay. There isn't a relationship that I can have with any other spirit if I don't first have a relationship with my ancestors, because they're going to be the ones that are standing in front of me. It's like, let me give you an example. Let's say that you're at a store and you have an extra lollipop or something, and you see a little kid and you think to yourself, oh, it would be nice, like maybe I can give this extra lollipop to this little girl, like that would be sweet. I bet that would make her day. And, you go and you approach that little girl. The first thing that's going to happen is that her mother is going to step in front of you, and her mother's going to be like, hello, can I help you with something? That's the ancestors. You don't get to approach that little girl until you've dealt with her mother. That's how it goes. I'm telling you guys the truth. That's how it goes. You cannot give anything to that little girl until her mother says that it's okay, until her mother deems that you are not a threat, until her mother says that you are safe. You cannot give anything to that little girl. So think of it in that same way when it comes to ancestry. The ancestors are the first line of defense. There is not a spirit in the world that can override your blood and your ancestry until they say that it's okay. And if you don't have a relationship to them, they're gonna block that spirit. So you really wanna make sure that you're solid with your ancestors first. You wanna make sure that you are in good standing with your ancestors first before you go out trying to contact and work with other spirits or deities of any kind. Second misconception or mistake that I see in a lot of spiritual trends these days is that a lot of people only want to connect with their ancestors if it is a situation of them benefiting in some way and getting something that they want. So the only time that they connect with their ancestors, the only time that they reach out to their spirits and give offerings and acknowledge their ancestors is when they want something. Ancestors can see right through that. I'll be the first to tell you, they can see right through that. Do not underestimate the amount of blessings that your ancestors can block from you. If they see that you're only using them and talking to them when you want something, they're gonna say, oh, you know what? That promotion you thought you were gonna get, never mind. That guy that you thought was gonna call you back that you really hit it off with, psych, never mind. Your ancestors will literally block you. They can block you if they feel like you are not acknowledging them, if you're not doing right by them. And a lot of people, experience things going wrong in their life and they don't know where it's coming from. They don't know why. I bet it's because you're either not acknowledging your ancestors or you're not treating them properly. You're not keeping up with them. Connect with them because you love them. Connect to them because you want to elevate them and heal them. And in turn, they will do the same thing for you. Third misconception and mistake that I see quite often in spiritual trends these days is that a lot of people seem to think that ancestral reverence and ancestral veneration is demonic. And that to me is just weird. It's just weird and it makes no sense. I can't speak for you. I can't speak for your loved ones, but I know that my great grandma, she was not a demon. She was not a demon and she is not a demon now. So, and people just kind of sling that term around very flippantly and it's really disrespectful. Ancestors, again, were real people. And it's very strange to me how a lot of people these days are more willing to put their trust and put their offerings and put their money and put their worship and put their time and devotion toward spirits that are not connected to them by blood, spirits and deities that they have never met, that, that they've only seen in a book or seen online. People are much more willing to put trust into those spirits and deities, but when it comes to ancestral work, there's this taboo around it. There's this fear. There's this unnecessary level of exaggeration, like, oh no, this is demonic. No, it's not. These are people that were real. These were people that were once human. This is your bloodline. It's not demonic at all. It's weird. And so I'll just go ahead and close this section of the video out by saying, in many other cultures of the world, they have such a different mindset and such a different belief when it comes to death and the dying, when it comes to life after death, reincarnation, when it comes to ideas of the spirit and the spirit realm. So many other cultures out there are so much more open. They're so much more accepting and flexible when it comes to honoring the dead. They celebrate the dead. It's not a process of just putting your loved one in the ground or cremating them and then that's it. You know, oh, that's it. This person passed on. We all have to move on with our lives now. This person, you know, was here once before, but now they're not. Time to move forward. No, there's this energy and this idea and this practice in many other cultures of, yes, that person may no longer be here in the physical anymore, but that doesn't mean that their energy or their spirit is gone. And there's so much more of an openness when it comes to ancestral work and honoring your dead, honoring your spirits, even after they have passed on. And so personally, in the time that I have been doing ancestral work and talking to my spirits, which I talk to them every day, surprised they're not sick of me. I've gotten so much. I can literally give you guys like dozens and dozens and dozens of stories of crazy experiences that I've had ancestrally and just the crazy amount of things that they have done for me. Literally, you guys, when you take care of your spirits, they will move mountains for you. And when I say your spirits, I mean your ancestral spirits, not just the spirits that you think are yours because they seem cool, but I'm talking about your blood, your ancestral spirit. Last section of the video, we're going to talk about how it can help your practice spiritually, specifically in terms of magic and spell work. Okay, so like I discussed before, the ancestors are your first line of defense. Ancestors will be the first spirits that you have that will protect you and bless you before any other spirit does. Again, this is because they were once human themselves. They have more of an understanding of what we go through as people on a daily basis, more than any other spirit would. And this is no disrespect to the Orisha or to the Loa or to other spirits and deities out there, but when you're dealing with a spirit that has had the human experience themselves, there's just a different layer of understanding there. There's a different layer of compassion and empathy, and that's where the magic is. The magic is in the day-to-day things. Once you start to really cultivate a deeper relationship ancestrally, you may find that you really don't need to solicit other spirits for much of anything anymore. You can just kind of keep it at home and keep it all within the family, all within the blood, because you take such good care of them and you're elevating and healing them. And so they're reciprocating. Again, it's a reciprocal energetic exchange. They're helping and healing and elevating you. And so it becomes this very solid partnership that I feel is very one of a kind. You can't really find or experience that level of closeness with other spirits out there. Your ancestors will be on top of it. As long as you're keeping up with their offerings, as long as you're talking to them, as long as you're acknowledging them and doing the best that you can for them and with them, they're going to help you with everything and anything that you need. We have hundreds and hundreds of generations, and all of them were good at something. You're going to have ancestors that know how to deal with money. You're going to have ancestors who were good in the field of love. You're going to have ancestors that know how to help you out when it comes to business endeavors. You're going to have ancestors who were thugs and, you know, they were rowdy, and they will whoop ass for you if you need that. This is the last point in today's video. Ancestral work is all about the root. So when you are focused on the root, when you are healing and addressing the root, you build so much sincere and genuine confidence in yourself, so much self-awareness. And when you're able to move through the world, like I said earlier, with that confidence and with that level of knowing who you are, it's going to directly impact the level of success in your spell work, in the magic that you do. That energy is going to transfer into your working. So you'll have an increased success rate. You won't have to wait as long for the results of your spell work to manifest. Different things like that. So there's definitely a lot more benefit than what people are really talking about to ancestral work. And I hope that you guys have a bit more of an understanding of why this is so foundational and why this is so necessary and so important to the practice. Again, not just for spell work and magical reasons, but for your own healing, for your own family, you know, healing your family that's still alive and present with you, elevating the family bloodline. It's all very, very foundational and important. I promise you that you will get everything out of this practice alone. Everything else outside of the ancestors is really, you know, complementary. It's secondary. But you really want to make sure that ancestors are first and foremost. If you don't, they'll make sure that you continue to be blocked. And they will make sure that you put your focus back on them. Anyway, you guys, I hope that this was easy enough to follow. This is such a passionate topic for me. I'm always like, I can definitely go off on tangents and you know, follow little bunny trails and whatnot, but I hope you guys were able to follow and get some good notes and tips out of this video. I love you guys. Thank you so much again for 1,000 subbies. I will see you very soon in my next video. I love you guys. Take care.